Now then guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Craig and today we're going to rebuild Nottingham Forest. Well, I say rebuild Nottingham Forest, doing quite a good job of rebuilding the club themselves. Evangelos Marinakis has invested a lot of money into the club this season and it's not gone well for them, let's be honest. Steve Cooper's job is currently on the ropes. So this first season really for me is all going to be about maybe cutting some of the cloth. That team is very bloated. And then just try to keep Nottingham Forest in the Premier League for 3 seasons. So if you are new to the channel, what I normally do is to take over a club for 3 seasons. 9 times out of 10 is just to keep them established, try and keep them in the division that they get in and try and pick up some silverware. And that's no different today with Nottingham Forest. So if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. But yes, let's get into rebuilding Forest. Right, so here we go then guys. Nottingham Forest recently promoted to the Premier League. And that media prediction of 19th place. So they're expecting us to get relegated. And you know, if I'm honest, when Forest went up, I was expecting them to go back down as well. Themselves and Bournemouth were the two for me. So prior to this, Nottingham Forest were last in the Premier League in the 98-99 season, where they finished bottom of the league. And it's been a long road back to the Premier League. And they've minced about a little bit. You know, they've had some low finishes there in the Championship. A 21st place finish in the 2016-17 season. And then, like I say, promoted in 4th place through the playoffs, where Steve Cooper did an incredible job getting them into that position in the first place. I believe they were bottom of the league when he took over. So Forest last won the FA Cup in 1959, the Community Shield in 1978, the Carabao Cup in 1990 and the Premier League in 1978. But who can forget the 2 Champions League trophies in 1979 and 1980. So finances wise, then somehow we've still got some money. That overall balance isn't great at 1.3 million. However, transfer budget at £8.6 million. That wage budget as well as 1.8 million. We're up there. We're currently just underneath it. Debt and loans wise, £122 million net debt. And a transfer debt of £90 million, which doesn't surprise us because we're going to be paying some additional funds for these players that we've brought in. So looking at this squad then, it is hefty. It really is. There's a lot of options there, but you know, when you're looking at the stars, and you can't judge the players by the star ratings, it's not great, I'll be honest. Potential wise, yes, we've got some players. The best player at the club is Danilo, 21-year-old Brazilian who we've just brought in for 17.25 million. Defensive midfielder, central midfielder should he be. You know, he's going to play in one of those 2 roles. Best player at the club, valued at £32 million. Now we've got players on some serious wages as well. Dean Henderson on 120k per week, Jesse Lingard on 100k per week, and John Joe Shelby on 80k per week, who's currently injured, out for 3 to 5 months. So some big money on those wages. So what about the development centre then? Neko Williams, currently in the under-21s, he's the best player in there, valued up to 29 million. Let's get him into the senior squad. And Alex Mighton as well, 20-year-old winger, valued up to 9.4 million. Let's get him offered out for loan. So let's do that. Let's try and get 100% of his wages and give him an opportunity to play football this season. So what about the club vision then? What is the expectation this season? So to work within the wage budget, to attempt to avoid relegation from the Premier League, be competitive in the FA Cup and be competitive in the Carabao Cup. Now it would surprise me from the supporters if it's not to get the better of Leicester. And it isn't. You know, I would expect the supporters to want us to finish higher than Leicester this season. But all they want is for us to get the better of our rivals Derby County and to get the better of Sheffield United as well. But to remain in the Premier League, that is the main point from the fans. So competitions-wise this season, then we've got the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. I think we touched on the fact that we're expected to finish 19th this season. Yeah, Bournemouth favourites to go down, but there's 3 of us, ourselves, Bournemouth and Brentford, all 600 to 1, you know, to win the league. So we're down in those bottom 3 places. And then tactics-wise, it's likely that I'm going to line up in a 4-3-3. It's a formation that I have found some success with. And at this moment in time, that is probably going to be my starting 11 with Navas in goal, Renan Lodi, Niakate, Filippi, and Aurier at the back with Fowler, Danilo and Gibbs-White, and then Lingard, Johnson, and a 1-year up front. So yeah, tiki-taka on a positive mentality is the way to go. Defensively sound there as well. So where do we strengthen really? I think we need a better striker. We've got a lone striker up front. I think that's definitely where we need to improve. But the rest of the squad looks fairly decent. The depth is there and I'm quite happy with it. So within this transfer window, remind myself of the finances. I've got £8.6 million to spend. I'm going to try and get some players off the books. But they've heavily recruited, so a lot of these players, you know, might be sat with us for 12 months. But if I can get a little bit of money in, all my money's going to go on finding a player that's going to score us to safety this season. Right, so at the start of Season 1 then, guys, as we take on Liverpool on this first game of the season, I haven't managed to bring in a striker. Let's get that out the way straight away. His finances now, we're up to £13.9 million. Wage budget we've managed to shave almost 100k off per week. Overall balance 5.9 million. And we're heading in the right direction, that's a plus. So at this moment in time, we're expected to be 6.31 million, and I've generated some of that money by selling Scott McKenna. So Scott McKenna has gone off to Brentford. He stayed in the Premier League. We've let him go for £5 million after we took him on from Nottingham Forest for £3 million. Jack Colback has gone off to Burnley. He's taken a step down to the Championship. 800k we've paid for him after he played 38 games for us last season. And Cafu has gone off to Portugal, where he's played one game and scored one goal. So he scored as many goals as he did last season for us. So tactics-wise, nothing's really changed as I've brought nobody into the club. So we're still going to stick with that 4-3-3. Again, we're playing that positive mentality. Pre-season has not been good for us when we look at it there. One win in all of our games, a 3-0 victory over Celtic Hearts. We have been poor, and I'm hoping that's not a sign of a difficult season to come. Competitions-wise then, we've got the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. Now, has anything changed for the season preview? No, Bournemouth now 1,000 to 1, we're 700 to 1. Ourselves, Bournemouth and Brentford, still the teams expected to go down. Crystal Palace, Leeds and Southampton pretty close as well. And we've got no players in the Media Dream 11, but that doesn't surprise us. And then schedule-wise, then we start off with games against Liverpool, Leeds, Fulham, Brentford and Southampton. Liverpool going to be difficult. All the games in the Premier League are going to be a challenge for us this season. But I'd like to pick up ideally 6 to 9 points out of those first 5 games. I think that's the way to go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move forward to the end of Season 1, where hopefully, we've beat off relegation and we've got a top half finish. So Season 1 down then, and we have outperformed that media prediction and finished in 6th place against all the odds. 55 points on the board, plus 9 goal difference. Don't get me wrong, 35 points behind Manchester City. I suppose we should be happy with that. 35 points behind the league winners. As you can see there, Wolves, Fulham and Everton all relegated, so there may be opportunity for us to snatch some of their players as well. So looking at this league table then, 38 games played, 15 wins, 10 draws, 13 defeats, and there's some big draws in there as we held Chelsea, Manchester United twice, Arsenal twice. Some big results in there for us, and some decent victories in there as well. So yes, we drew on points with Brighton, however our goal difference getting us in to that Europa League place. Well, I say that Europa League place, it hasn't been confirmed yet. Looking at competitions-wise, and like I say, 6th place finish in the Premier League. In the FA Cup, we were knocked out in the 5th round by Liverpool. Absolutely smashed. 3-0 at Anfield, yeah. Done well and proper there. 18 shots, 11 on target. We had a 7-1. Neco Williams had a shocker on a 5.9. And then we were knocked out in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, 5-2 at home by Tottenham. We were done again. In fairness, we weren't too bad there. 12 shots, 3 on target. But yeah, they were prolific with 13 shots, 7 on target. So what about finances then? We've currently got £4.9 million in the overall balance, but £43 million to play with in this transfer budget. That is a war chest. And obviously European football now is going to continue to help us push for at least this season anyway. Wage budget just under 1.9 million and we're currently spending 1.6. Debt and loan wise down to £93 million worth of debt. And I transferred debt to £68 million. So looking at the player stats, and the top goal scorer was Teo Awoniyi with 27 goals this season. How does that compare though to the rest of the players in the league? Surely Haaland's top dog. He's not. He actually got the golden boot this season with 25 goals. Haaland got 24. Nunes as well with 19 there, performing better than in real life. But Awoniyi with 25 goals this season, he's bossing it. The highest average rating was Johnson with a 6.97. Most assists was Johnson with 10. Best pass completion was Nekate with 89%. Most player of the match awards was Johnson with 4. Most yellow cards was Lodi with 19. And most red cards, we actually got 4 red cards, and with AIO, Felipe, Danilo and Gibbs White all getting 1 apiece. But then when we look at the team stats, so we played 38 games, scoring 55 goals, which is the 6th best, and conceding 46, which is the 6th best. So that's about right. We were 6th best in both of those categories, and we finished in 6th place. 105 yellow cards across 38 games, which was the worst, and 4 red cards, which is the 2nd worst. And we had the 6th worst average attendance at just over 30,000. So there we go. Now the big thing for me is obviously clearing out a lot of this squad. It's very bloated. Bringing in my own players now and really starting to put that 4-3-3 philosophy into the club. Right then guys, so game day as we take on Brighton, first game of Season 2, and I've done some good business in the transfer market. I'm very happy with how it's gone. Got a couple of players off the books that were just dead weight, and I think I've strengthened nicely. So looking at the finances then, I've got £1.1 million left in the transfer budget. That overall balance though has fallen off a cliff, but we're currently at minus £40 million. Wage budget is 1.8 and we're currently spending 1.4 million, so we've definitely sorted it on wages. The debt and loans naturally have got worse. That net debt now £132 million. Obviously I've impacted that massively this summer, and the transfer debt is 63 million. So players leaving then. John Joe Shelby has gone to Cadiz in Spain. We got it for £5 million from Newcastle, where he only played 4 times, and we managed to recoup the £5 million back for him. Steve Cook left us for a free transfer. He has gone off to Luton, and Luton have just been promoted to the Premier League. Fair play to them. They've got to be favourites to go down, but yeah, he goes to Luton for a free transfer. Another one to go is Remo Freuler. He goes off to Real Sociedad for £8.5 million. He actually joined us last season for 7.75. 37 games he played for us with a 6.82 rating. But Real Sociedad come in, £8.5 million, now 31-year-old. I thought it was time to move him on. So the first player through the door then is Mana Solomon. Israeli, 24-year-old with 33 caps. I think he's a very good player. He actually had a season in the Premier League last season at Fulham. 22 games played, 1 goal, 5 assists, a 6.63 rating. I think he's solid, can play out on the left and right hand side. A dribbling of 17, crossing of 14, acceleration and pace both 13 and 14 as well. He's now valued at £25 million. We got him on a free. That's a win-win. Now, a deal that I'm not too happy about. Chris Wood joins us permanently for £15 million from Newcastle. We had him on loan last season where he only played 4 times. So an awful bit of business from us. I couldn't do anything about it. It was pre-set in. So yeah, Chris Wood, £15 million. We'll see what happens. Coming in to take the number 1 jersey then is Pierluigi Gallini. He comes in as my first choice goalkeeper. Brought him in on a free transfer from Napoli, where he played 6 times last season. 5 clean sheets, not bad going. Obviously he was out on loan at Tottenham the season before. Very good goalkeeper, already capped by Italy. 1 cap that is, but still good enough to be my number 1. Then obviously with Fulham getting relegated, I dipped into their squad and brought in James Tarkowski, now 30-year-old, 2 caps for England. Brought him in for 4.4 million after Everton took him free last season. Played 19 times in the Premier League. He's got decent pedigree in the Premier League as well. That's heading of 16, marking and tackling 15, teamwork 16, that's strength of 13. Very good addition to the squad. Then I brought in a left back, so 26-year-old Spaniard Aaron joins us. Now that crossing of 16 is what really tempted us. Yes, I obviously want those defensive attributes, but I want someone who can bomb up the wing and put in a decent cross, and Aaron looks like he can do that. 13 acceleration, 12 pace. Need a little bit more about him, but we got him for £8 million after he played 21 times in the Bundesliga for Mainz last season. Then I brought in another Spaniard to play out on the right-hand side. So I've brought in the 23-year-old Matteo Morey. Joins us from Borussia Dortmund for 3.4 million. Only played 3 times in the Bundesliga last season. Definitely a squad depth option there, but he will be a starter for us. Then I went to our affiliate club and brought in Hwang In-Boem from Olympiacos for 10.5 million. Actually played 21 times in the Greek Super League last season, scoring once with 2 assists. But yeah, a very good deal for us, a real quality player. And then the big money was spent bringing Ruben Neves in from Wolves, who were also relegated last season. We spent £30 million on this guy after he played 38 times. He was ever present in the Premier League last season with 3 goals and 2 assists. Quality all-round player, a cultured defensive midfielder, and I am going to play him at the base of my free. So tactically then, we're going to set up the same with the 4-3-3 with Gallini in goal, Aaron, Felipe, Tarkowski and Morey out wide, with Neves at the base of that free with Danilo and Mangala as my 2 in front, Scarpa and Johnson out wide, and then Awonyi up front. Now, the big thing is Awonyi going to repeat last season's feat? Am I going to get another 25 goals out of him? Who knows? It's an ask, but I think we've got to give him a go and see what goes on. Chris Wood as his deputy, it's all on Awonyi's shoulders. So competitions-wise then, we've got the Premier League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and the big news is we didn't make it into the Europa League, as Chelsea won the FA Cup last season, so I haven't even got European football, and that is heartbreaking. But what are this season's expectations? We're expected a 13th place finish, and I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, Luton favourites to go down 1,000 to 1 there. You got to feel for them. But happy that we're not now considered relegation favourites. But the big thing for me is club vision-wise, what do they expect? So they expect us to avoid relegation, be competitive in the FA Cup, and be competitive in the Carabao Cup. Happy with that. And then finally looking at the schedule, so we start off with games against Brighton, Luton, Liverpool, Leicester and Bournemouth. So an opportunity from there. I'd like 9 points from the first 15. I think Liverpool obviously the big challenge. Yeah, Leicester is strengthened nicely. They've got Mitrovic now as their number 9. So yes, second season in. I'm very happy with how the squad's looking. But will that translate into us getting into that top 6 places again? Right, so the end of Season 2 then, and it's a mid-table finish, 12th place this time round, only 48 points on the board, minus 15 goal difference. That is a concern. We were 10 points away from that 7th place finish in the league, you know, big ask this time round. Aston Villa up there, big shout out though to Norwich in 8th place, they've done well, promotion, and then 56 points on the board. Luton have had an absolute shocker as you can see there, picking up 9 points out of 38 games. So looking at the league overall then, as you can see we played 38 games, 13 wins, 9 draws, 16 defeats, 52 goals scored, 67 conceded, minus 15 goal difference. That's down there with the worst of them at the bottom. Obviously that minus 70 goal difference from Luton though, they were absolutely smashed. So looking at the past positions, we were never higher than 7th place throughout the season, and we did fall down to as low as 17th, just above those relegation places. But in the final 2 games, we managed to get ourselves up into that 12th place, where we got a 3-0 victory away from home at Bournemouth. So in all competitions, how did it go then? So we were knocked out in the 3rd round by Hull City, which is disappointing. We were beaten 1-0 there. Tufan with a goal on 76 minutes in the game, which we dominated. And then we were knocked out in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup by Manchester City 4-0. Yeah, we were dominated there. Only managing 2 shots, none on target, 39% possession. Galini didn't have a great game on a 5.9. So what about finances then? Overall balance is up to 1.9 million. We've had a bad season for funds. We've got £50 million to spend in this upcoming transfer window. And we've still got another 400k to spend for wages. But that debt and loans now down to £69 million. Transfer debt 45 million. But yeah, that net debt slowly coming down. But that depends on how I spend this 50 million in the summer. So look at the player ratings then. Awoniyi was the top scorer again with 16, but he's going to be nowhere near top goal scorer this season. Highest average rating was Awoniyi with a 7.02 as well. Most assists was Brennan Johnson with 8. Best pass completion was Niakate with 90%. Most player of the match awards was Awoniyi with 5. Most yellow cards was Neco Williams with 12, and most red cards was Niakate with 1. And what about team stats? When we're looking at these team stats, then we scored 52 goals, which is the 10th best. But it's those goals conceded, 67 goals conceded, which is the 3rd worst. Yellow cards, 83, which is the 2nd worst. Much better on last season. And red cards, 1, which is the 4th best. Average attendance this season, 6th worst. So there we go. We've got 1 more season to go. I've got £50 million to spend. Big season coming up, but we haven't had to fight relegation in my first 2 seasons. So this season, can we just go that step further and get into Europe? Right, so what a transfer window that's been. Now, I was helped out by the board selling Ruben Neves. So as you can see, Ruben Neves went off to Chelsea. What a player he is. You know, we spent £30 million on him. A £40.5 million offer coming from Chelsea, and the directors, they accepted it. Naturally, I'm very unhappy. Easily could have got more money than that. But the board got trigger happy. And yeah, Ruben Neves, quality player, like I say, has gone off to Chelsea. But there was more players that I tried to offload. Now, I had a little bit of a complaint about this Chris Wood deal that happened last season, and I've let him go to Sheffield United, and we've made a £10 million loss. It was never really going to feature in my long-term plans. £15 million, like I say, from Newcastle. We had him on loan the first season where he only played 4 times, and last season played 5, didn't score a goal in 2 seasons for us. Aurel Mangala went off to Greece for £6.25 million. He's gone to PAOK after playing 4 times for us last season. £10.25 million we paid for him. Now, he was one of my starters in the first season, did play 20 games for us. Second season now, fell out of favour. So Galini, my goalkeeper that I brought in last season, has gone off to Brentford. We actually let him go for £5 million after picking him up on a free transfer last season. He played 38 games last season, so he was ever present, but he conceded 67, and I do feel that he was part of the problem. Ryan Yates was another player to go. He's gone off to Sassuolo in Italy, £4 million. Played 15 times for us last season, 28 the season before, but he was very unhappy at the club, so time to move him on. So joining the club then, the first player through the door is a 24-year-old Norwegian international. He's got 16 caps for Norway actually. Leo Ostergaard. I think this guy's an incredible player. I think he's really good on Football Manager. I've had him on plenty of rebuilds, especially in the FM22 cycle. I genuinely think he's really good. That heading 16, marking 14, tackling 15, acceleration and pace could be a little bit higher. Strength is 15, and we brought him in for £7.5 million from Union Berlin, but they paid £2.3 million, so he missed an opportunity to nab him up last season. But yeah, very happy to get Leo Ostergaard into the squad. Another central defender joining us is a 24-year-old Ecuadorian, Jackson Parozzo. Now, again, quality defensive attributes. Heading 16, marking 14, tackling 14, at strength 14, acceleration and that pace, though, of 16. Very, very good. And we brought him in for £8 million from Troyes in France, where he played 32 times in Ligue 1 last season, 25 the season before. £3 million they paid for him. We maybe missed an opportunity, but I would imagine that was already a pre-arranged deal. But yeah, £8 million. Jackson Parozzo joins us, and he's a very good centre-back option. And we continue with those centre-back options. Obviously, conceding goals last season was the problem, so we've brought in Marlon. He joins us from £20 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. He actually played 16 times last season. He's on loan at Monza the season before. A 7.03 rating in the Ukrainian Premier League last season. But again, heading 16, tackling 16, marking 15, strength 15. 28 years old, valued at £22 million. Hopefully he gets plenty of game time this season, but I've got lots of options at centre-back. And another one of those options at centre-back is William Roca. Now, he joins us from CSKA Moscow for £10 million. They put him up for £1.7 million. Played 28 times in the Russian Premier League last season, getting a 7.4 rating, and the season before a 7.58. Very good player. That aggression worries me a little bit at 18, but a 29-year-old, you know, is going to have an experienced head on his shoulders. So spend and big again then. Sergio Gomez joins us from Manchester City. In my opinion, one of the better left-backs on the game. So that's where we're going to play him, obviously, at left-back. You see there, that crossing 17, dribbling 13, acceleration and pace 14 apiece. First touch 15, passing 15. 23-year-old, 22.5 million. I can't believe I got him for so cheap. Yes, Man City put him up for 11.5 million. He played 4 times in the Premier League last season. 1 assist and 1 player of the match performance in there. A 7.17 rating. And he's got him in my first choice out on that left-hand side. And then trying to find the man to replace Ruben Neves, I've got him for Danilo Cataldi. Now, he joins us from Lazio for £7 million. Only played 12 times in Serie A last season. The season before, 36 times. But I've brought him in. He's going to play at the base of that 3. He's got that first touch of 14, passing 14. You know, he can pull out the long shots at 16 as well. But marking's 13, tackling 14, teamwork 16, vision 14. It looks like an all-rounded player. Got a resolute personality. I just like what this guy offered. Yes, he's 30-year-old, so we've gone towards the back end of his career. But I've got one more season at this, and I think this guy might be the key. And then up front, not a place that we've struggled. I've brought in Ivan Toney, not a player that really needs an introduction. We brought him in for £20.5 million. Brentford were relegated last season, I believe. Where are they now? They are in the Championship, so yes, they went down last season, and he scored 12 times for a team that was relegated. So very happy to get Ivan Toney through the door, and we'll put up a decent challenge for Awonyi, who has tore it up for us the last couple of seasons. And then finally, with Galini going, I brought in Altay Bayindir. 26-year-old Turkish international with 5 caps. Is not the finished article yet, still got plenty more time, but he has got plenty of game time for Fenerbahce. We bought him in for £8.75 million. He played 25 times last season, only conceding 22 goals, 10 clean sheets, a 6.92 rating. I'm hoping Bayindir is an upgrade on Galini. Now, looking at his attributes, he is, but is that going to translate into more clean sheets, especially with the money that we've put in to that defence this season? Now, one deal that has just come in is an offer for £67 million for Brennan Johnson. Now, that is an incredible offer for Brentford that have just been relegated. However, I don't want to let him go, but I am getting a lot of pushback from the team to get Brennan Johnson sold. He wants to go on to bigger and better things, but I don't think going off to Brentford in the Championship is the way to go. So what we're going to do is we are going to reject that offer. Hopefully there's not too much mutiny from the squad. So finances then, I've got £5.7 million left in the bank. We've taken an absolute battering to that overall balance. Wage width is 1.8 million. I'm currently well under that at just under 1.5. And debt and loans, £131 million in debt. Transfer debt is falling down to £38 million now. So tactics-wise then, we're still going with that 4-3-3 with Altay in goal, Gomez, Niakate, Ostergaard and Williams at the back. Wang Imbiom in that holding role with Danilo and Ojeda. But in fairness, Cataldi, he's out injured. He would be the main man down there. Johnson and Solomon out wide. And then Ivan Toney Up front, obviously, it's a coin toss between him and Anowinyi, who's, like I say, has been our main man for the last couple of seasons. And then looking at competitions-wise, we've got the Premier League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. We've got to be pushing further on in these domestic cup competitions this season. In the Premier League, then, with all the strengthening, what are they expecting this season? So we're expected to go down 600 to 1 to win the league. Burnley, Forest and Bournemouth, the teams going down. Everton and Wolves were promoted back to the Premier League as well. So yeah, they haven't got much faith in us this season, and we've got no players in the Major Dream 11. What was the biggest transfer fee then? So João Cancelo going to Real Madrid for £56 million, and Jurrien Timber going from Ajax to Manchester United for £55 million. So looking at the schedule, and we've had a very good pre-season. Obviously not going up against any elite teams. Feyenoord in there, but we did beat them 3-0. But we start with games against Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, Newcastle and Chelsea. Now, I'll definitely be looking to pick up a minimum of 6 points. Realistically now, we're not going to pick up 12 points from a possible 12 there. You know, Chelsea and Newcastle will give us a run for our money. As out of all of those games anyway, it only looks like we're favourites against Southampton. So yes, what we're going to do then is we're going to move forward into this final season where I've spent an absolute astronomical amount of money. Hopefully, it was worth every penny. That's it then, guys. Season 3 is over. 10th place finish, quite underwhelming considering the money that's just been spent in that previous summer transfer window. I would say it's not gone well, but we've managed to be a mid-table team. We've survived 3 seasons. I would say we're now established. That was the main aim. It would be nice to have won a bit of silverware, but given our league performance, that's looking unlikely. But yes, having a look at this league table then, as you can see, 38 games played, 15 wins, 10 draws, 13 defeats, 63 goals scored, 61 conceded. That is absolute carnage. Plus 2 goal difference, 55 points on the board. And our form towards our back end of the season, 2 draws, 3 defeats out of our last 5. Then when we look at those past positions, then there was obviously an opportunity, as you can see there. We're up as high as 6th place in match day 33. And we fell apart towards the back end of the season. Competitions-wise, though, I can see we have actually won something. So we have won the Carabao Cup 1-0 against Liverpool in the final. Ivan Toney with a goal on 31 minutes. A fairly even game there, I would say. 14 shots, 8 on target for us. Neco Williams was injured on 75 minutes, but we win the Carabao Cup. Does that mean we get European football next season? Worth looking at, though. When we look at this league table, have I missed it? We do. We get the Europa Conference League next season. How is that though? We finished what? Up in those top 7 places last time round. There's now 5 Champions League places as well. You know, that's harsh given we finished 6th in the first season and didn't get European football. And the top 7 have got it there. And us finishing 10th have got European football as well. Bournemouth, Norwich and Burnley all relegated. Let's have a look then at the finances. So we got £25 million to play with this season. I wrecked the finances last season going for it. We did get some silverware. We have got European football next season. So I suppose in the grand scheme of things, it was worth it. But £25 million to play with. Just under £1.9 million wage budget. You've got basically 400k to play with there. Net debt is 56 million. Transfer debt is 22 million. You know, the squad is very good. When we're looking at the squad overall, goals, Ivan Toney with 34 goals this season. Awoniyi with 15. When we're looking at transfer value, should you want to sell players on? Because obviously, I'm going to leave this save from this point onwards down in the description. So yes, £71 million Brennan Johnson. If you want to get rid of him, he's got 1 more season left before his contract expires. Awoniyi, he's still got 2 years, but he's valued at £55 million. So there are players that you can move on to rebuild this squad once again. And then finally, then when we've been talking about those players, so Ivan Toney was a top goal scorer in the league. How many though in the league? So Erling Haaland scored 29 goals, 1 more than Ivan Toney, and Nonto from Leeds with 27. Yeah, Ivan Toney, you got to feel a little bit hard done by there, but Erling Haaland is an absolute machine. Tony also had the ice average rating at 7.3. Danilo with most assists with 10. Niakate with 88%, which was the best pass completion. Most player of the match awards was Ivan Toney with 8. Most yellow cards, Niakate with 11. And 6 players got red cards this season. And then when we look at the team stats wise, 63 goals, which is the 6th best. But those goals conceded, considering the amount of money I put in to basically that back 4, that is not very good. 61 goals conceded, which is the 6th worst. Yellow cards wise, 94, which is the worst. That's not good neither. And 6 red cards, which is the worst. So discipline, a real problem this season. But I did mention that at the start of the season, I brought in a couple of players with high aggression. And we've got the 5th worst attendance at just over 30,000. So looking at my history then, obviously 3 seasons, a 6th place finish in the first season, where that was well above expectations. Obviously we were favourites to go down. In the second season, a 12th place finish, and then a 10th place finish this time around. Obviously we had that massive war chest in the summer though. 10th place is pretty disappointing. However, we did win the Carabao Cup, and that is the big thing. And then when we look at the overview, I brought in 16th place for a total of £194 million, sold 31st place for £92 million, so I spent £102 million more. Highest fee spent was £30 million for Neves, and then we sold it for 40.5, which was really disappointing because we could have got £60-70 million if we just held out. But that is it then, guys. What a rebuild. 3 seasons, we've stayed in the Premier League, and a 10th place finish last season I would say was the disappointment. However, we did lift silverware in the Carabao Cup, so yes, give this save a go. It is available down in the description. And like I said at the start of the video, if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. Let's get this video out to as many corners of YouTube as we possibly can. So yes, thank you very much. Stay safe, and I'll catch you later. Ta-ra.